Two balls and a strike to count on Taylor. Reyes fires, swinging a drive, deep left field. It's his way back. Walk him off. Chris Taylor.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to DodgerHeads, presented by DodgerBlue.com. My name is Scott Geirman, senior writer, Dodger Blue. I'm here with my good buddy Blake, one of the hardest working gentlemen in the business, managing editor, Dodger Blue. How we doing tonight, buddy?
A little cold. It's kind of chilly out. And when I'm saying that, it's pretty cold because I love the cold. So, yeah, but cold and busy. Dodgers are keeping us busy this week.
Cold heart when it comes to everybody's favorite player. When it comes time to get real, Blake Williams is chilly, folks. Chat, welcome in. It's good to have you. Do us a favor, like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. This is DodgerHeads, a part of the Medium Large Sports Network. Blake, off the top, I love doing this to you. How we doing? Where's your mind headed with all the Dodgers news now? We've got a couple topics to get into, but what's the first thing off the top for Mr. Williams?
Next few days coming up are going to be really busy. That's what's on my mind. Tomorrow, I got the Kirby Yates press conference, which we'll get into here. Then there's 2 charity community tour events. And then the day after that is DodgerFest. And then the day after that is Chris Taylor's annual polar plunge event. So I'll be at all of them. It'll be a busy week. And then I'll get a little rest before spring training starts.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm looking forward to it. Unfortunately, I don't believe I'll be able to get to Dodgers Fest this year myself personally. Incredibly exciting thing last year when we were there to greet Shohei Ohtani. That was a really cool moment for me. I know we were there standing in front of that media scrum for as long as I did to get the very front center was a very fun moment, a cool thing, and just kind of overwhelming a little bit. You know what I mean? Just to see as much media. And then once they did a great job kind of separating it between American media and that kind of opened everything up. Cool stuff. So unfortunately, I won't be there for that scrum. I'm sure there's going to be great stuff with Roki Sasaki. Is he confirmed going to be there?
They have not confirmed if Roki will be there. I'm wondering if he's back in Japan getting ready to move over for the season and stuff like that, or if he's going to be a surprise guest. So we'll see. But as of right now, he's not on the schedule.
Cool. So, who are you looking forward to personally as the fan, Blake? Because I remember you saying, your resolution was going to be to enjoy some stuff more. So can we peel this first layer back? Who is Blake Williams looking forward to hearing that at DodgerFest, this year?
Probably Hye-Sung Kim, because we haven't heard from him yet. He's the only player that didn't get a press conference, and Michael Conforto as well. The 2 new guys who haven't got press conferences there. We've heard from everyone else thus far. So those are the 2 guys I'm interested in hearing from. And I think that'll be interesting.
Good. Okay, let's roll right into it, man. We got some news of the day here. The Dodgers designate Ryan Brasier for assignment. Officially signed Kirby Yates. We can toss that banner up here. Surprising move for you at all? Because in recent days, I know Jeff has covered this on the channel. It's been the speculation. We've talked about it off stream quite a bit about, tossing his name around. I still believe there's time to get a deal done, but walk me through your thoughts kind of with the Ryan Brasier being designated for assignment.
Yeah, I was a little surprised Friedman would be willing to give up on a quality reliever. Mm-hmm. I thought they would have just kept the depth and kind of moved on with it, because we know how spring training is going to turn out, where they have too many arms at the start of spring training, and then by the end are they going to put Edgardo on the roster? Is it going to be Jack Dreyer on the roster? Who's going to be the final few spots in the bullpen? Because that's just how it always works out with injuries. So I was a little surprised. It makes sense from the standpoint of if they were moving on from one of the veterans in their bullpen, he doesn't have options available. Whereas someone like Michael Grove, they can send down to the minor leagues and keep him around. So I get it from that aspect of it. And they're probably close to a trade or have an idea that they can move him in the next few days, because now they have a week to trade him. So they're not just going to cut him and release him. I'd be very shocked if that happens. But they'll probably end up trading him for something and getting a prospect back that they like, or maybe some more international signing bonus money if there's anyone else they want on the market, or something along those lines.
Yeah, because he's owed $4.5 million, correct, this upcoming year. The wrapping up his 2-year, $9 million, plus some incentives there. Potential to reach, max over the 2-year contract combined was 13. So for what Ryan Brasier has been for the Dodgers, he's had some lows, but what reliever doesn't? in his time with the Dodgers, he's 37. In his time, he's at 1.89 ERA, sub 3 FIP, 0.83 WHIP, over 68 appearances. And he's played a multitude of roles. He's pitched at the back end. He's, closed out some games, pitching at the back end of some games, opened in games. Are you disappointed that they couldn't find a role for him? It just comes down, or does it come down to just he was an arm that, they could afford to lose?
I think they would have kept the role for him around. Like, he would have been a middle reliever if he stayed with the team. They probably just felt like this is a guy we can probably replace during the season if we need to. We see every year they pick up guys off the waiver wire that end up being at least somewhat impactful arms. So they probably figure, like, if we can get a prospect for him, clear up some of the roster crunch now, and then maybe replace him down the line if we need to, that's a path we can take and be fine with. It's not going to affect the outcome of their season. They're not going to win or lose the World Series because they DFA'd Ryan Brasier.
Yeah.
But it is the kind of player that can help you during the regular season get through it. I think he would have been effective there. But then if you look down the line into the postseason role, like, what role is he really going to play when you have a bunch of guys already ahead of him with Evan Phillips, Tanner Scott, Kirby Yates, Michael Kopech, Blake Treinen, potentially Brusdar Graterol, Alex Vesia. Like, it's just a really deep group. So they probably are doing him a little bit of a favor to help him go find a more significant role, clearing up their 40-man space a bit, and probably adding a prospect or something back in the deal.
Yeah, Yoshi, so I just laid it out. So in Brasier's time with the Dodgers, over 68 appearances, he had a 1.89 ERA, a 2.83 FIP, and a 0.83 WHIP. So this is a guy that the Dodgers brought him over after he was DFA'd from the Boston Red Sox. They figured him out. They got him right back on track, and he became a high leverage arm. He became, that guy you could toss in there and you knew what you were getting. At certain points, just like I said, there was a spot where it's like Brasier's at a low point. You don't know what you're going to get, but then they would get him right back on track. So older guy, older reliever, $4.5 million. There are teams. I was speaking with Jeff. We were texting a bit, and I was kind of looking for a landing spot. I was checking with some people that I personally know, and the team that I was thinking about is the Chicago Cubs. I know the Chicago Cubs are still looking for some bullpen help here. I know they just added Ryan Presley, but the Chicago Cubs I know are currently exploring some more bullpen help. So that's a team where they have a prior relationship. I know it was a fleece job with the Michael Busch stuff and things like that. However you want to dice it, but I believe a team will go out for $4.5 million plus some incentives. I think there will be a home, via trade for Ryan Brasier.
Yeah, I'd be surprised if there weren't at least a few teams interested in him, and if he doesn't end up getting traded, he'll be pretty popular on the waiver market there. Like, I'm sure a few teams would put in claims for him, so I expect a trade to happen. It's just a matter of who.
Yeah, Tim, those are some really good numbers for a reliever. And that just shows, again, what the Dodgers have the capability of doing. It's different, I would say, if look at an arm like, Chris Martin, after they brought him over from the Cubs. Like, that's a guy who parlayed his time with the Dodgers into one of the best relievers in Major League Baseball over the last few years when he's healthy. That, if nobody has looked into what Chris Martin did after, leaving the Dodgers, going to the Boston Red Sox and becoming just an absolute dominant arm. So the Dodgers have an ability, again, time and time again. Shout out to the 700 in the chat. We appreciate you. Just the Dodgers have an ability to find the very best and to keep you on that line. I was talking with Jeff. We were texting about it. And it was just, it's a remarkable thing. It's a very interesting, experiment with each of these arms, finding out what they do best, dissecting that. And you'll see it very quick what the Dodgers' focus is for reliever arms and in reclamation projects, and when they're not right, what they're doing wrong. It's very easy to tell. So Tim, to see an arm like that leave the organization, I'm with Blake. I believe a trade will get done. I don't think we're going to get to a point here where, it's a spot where they're just going to, get him out of here and just let somebody pick him up for league minimum. He's a viable arm. I agree with Scarlett here in chat. Dodgers will find a good spot for Ryan Brasier. This is the type of organization they are. This is a type, it might not be ideal, but I think they're going to find a spot where he can move comfortably. You kind of agree with a good bit of that. Maybe not the last part, but a good bit of that.
Probably. I think if some team blows him away with an offer, which probably won't happen, he'd end up going there. But I mean, maybe they send him to a bad team and reacquire him at the trade deadline. They've made it kind of a habit to trade for guys that they used to have. So
They've done crazier stuff, man.
And they brought Kike back. They brought Matt Kemp back. They brought Ahmed Rosario back. Got a track record there.
And again, chat, do us a favor. If there's anything you want to drive, again, super chat's the best way for us to, get to your comment here. We'll keep those up, put those first priority. We appreciate chat being active as always. You guys are doing awesome today. Blake, you laying out the bullpen and hearing kind of the chatter about, the 40-man crunch. I know I saw some people on Twitter talking about Michael Grove, and it just, we understand how this organization operates. Options are gold. Being able to have that rubber man guy, like rubber arms are good. Like every organization has to have it forever, whatever you think. So you're, just for the record, with what we know about the Dodgers, Andrew Friedman, Brandon Gomes, the rest of the front office, this is an on par move for them, you think? Or do you think that there was, Anthony Bonda would be the, if Brasier was 1A to move, Bonda was the second slot there?
Maybe. I feel like Banda is just like a tier ahead of Brasier in the bullpen ranking, so it would have been hard for me to see them kind of giving up on him. I think they like him a lot, and he was really good last year. He has a lot of team control left, so I don't know if they would have necessarily moved him as openly as they have with Brasier.
Yeah. Do you think it just came down to value and the ability that if you keep Bonda on the major league roster, like you said, you have that team control here? Or do you believe Brazier's through a trade, that one just made too much sense? Because that's what I think. I think from what it is, a trade for Ryan Brasier makes way too much sense there, and going that route. I would say so. That's how I see it. He's a leverage reliever when he's right. Another team can absolutely use him in a reliever market where guys are getting paid. And it's getting down to the nitty gritty here where there are arms, and Ryan Brasier is one that I think that he became available. There will be a suitor for him.
I think there'll be a suitor for Brasier, like we've talked about, but I think a key difference here is Banda's making $3.5 million less than Brasier this year, which is essentially $7 million. And I know it feels like the Dodgers have endless pockets, but $7 million is still $7 million that pays for a good amount. So yeah, I mean, Brasier was on his final year of team control. Banda still has two more arbitration years after this year, where he's going to be making like $3 million max by the end of it. Probably. He was really good. He's got good stuff. So I think it kind of came down to that. Like you could get more for Banda in a trade than you would for Brasier, but I think they see the value in keeping Banda around with the team control that he has.
Yeah, definitely. For the same reasons why, Jeff brought up, or other people have brought up, that Anthony Bonda had like that type of turnaround. As many times as he's been DFA'd, the turnaround that he's had are the same reasons why, or after being, having poor performance for so long, are the same reasons why you could argue to me, I know you could, Blake, why Anthony Bonda is a piece that has a little bit more you could, squeeze out of there and see what he can do there. That's kind of where I'm falling. The more we talk about it, that's where I'm landing.
Yeah, I mean, they still want to win games. Like, I think Brasier probably helps you win games in the regular season. I think Banda probably provides more of an impact, especially as you get into the postseason. It also allows them to use Tanner Scott in more of a fireman role instead of maybe making him like a lefty specialist type thing. Like you could use Banda and Vesia in that role and let Tanner Scott kind of do his thing in whatever inning you need him. So it just gives you more options and versatility, which they love. And I really think it comes down to the money, the team control, and probably the talent a bit there as well. Brasier is probably declining a bit more, while Banda is maybe more on the upswing of his career. And I think that probably played into it as well, because the Dodgers aren't saying, like, what did you do for me the last 2 years? They're projecting ahead to what are you going to do for me in 2025, 2026, and so on. And I think Banda just provides more value to them there.
Yeah. I don't have Anthony Bonda's projections pulled up here as I'm doing that. But I know from what we're seeing here, he's projected to have, slight bit of regression. And I think the Dodgers do a great job of kind of curbing that and finding those plus spots for him. I don't think that, projections a lot of time take that into account. But with what you said, I think that Anthony Bonda, He sticks around. He'll be fine. Ryan Brasier, this is no indication or anything that, people are low on him. Ryan Brasier, just like Oshiva said, Ryan Brazier's a stud. He was terrific with the Los Angeles Dodgers. He provided a lot of good innings. And the same chatter. There's a lot of names. 40 man's full. People got to go. The Dodgers analyze all of this. It's why it took so long. It's why it took so long for this type of thing to happen. They weigh all these values here. They check in around the league. They do all of their homework. This is not just a thing. They say he's on an expiring contract, older reliever. We know what the production has been. It certainly just comes down to roster crunch time, and not everybody's, going to make it. Simply.
Yeah, I saw on Twitter a question asking, like, is Ryan Brasier the best player the Dodgers have ever just designated for assignment? Like, at the time of the move, I think it's probably up there, because guys normally don't get designated for assignment when they're still good. And I think
with that run,
Brasier does provide value to a team. And yeah, I think Brian Hudson, they designated him for assignment, and he went to the Brewers and became an elite reliever. But like, at the time of them DFAing him, he wasn't really anything. Like, Brasier right now, quality reliever. So I think it's an interesting question there, and might be.
Yeah, we were joking, and I know you guys were yapping. I was doing some dad stuff at the Sonora softball practice, but like Michael Grove, I was saying in some years he could be an elite reliever, say 2-3 years down the line. I was like, Tampa Bay Rays, Kansas City Royals will turn him into a monster, just the same way the Brock Stewart has been with the Minnesota Twins. Just an absolute stud, pumping 100 plus, just becoming an absolute nightmare. So you never know.
We probably should address the Grove part of this, because I think a lot of fans were surprised that they kept Grove over.
Please do. Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so with that, I think the main thing is it comes down to options, money, team control there. Grove is controllable. He's cheap. They can send him down to AAA. And I know this isn't the popular opinion. I know if Jeff's still in here, he's probably going to hype it up a bit. But I think there's still some upside with Grove that they like. He had a good strikeout rate, low walk rate. He kept hard hit ball rate to a minimum there. He got ground balls. There's some, like, his expected ERA and his expected FIP and his FIP were all pretty solid. Projection systems have around like a 3.5 to 3.7 ERA guy. So if you keep that around, that's valuable. I think they like him a bit more than most fans do because of the stuff he has. The Dodgers have not utilized him well, and I think that's the biggest disconnect there. Like, lefties in their career or in his career are hitting 294, 367, 517 off Grove. So you can't use him as a starting pitcher. You can't use him as a multiple inning guy. But I think we've seen in the past, and I still believe moving forward, if you were to keep him in a 1-inning role where he was facing righties the vast majority of his appearances, I think he'd be a really solid reliever that a lot of people wouldn't mind having around. And when you add in the team control and the option year, like, that's valuable to the Dodgers. And I think that's kind of why they decided to keep him around.
Yeah. Nomo Splitter asked you politely to roll back the analytics here a little bit, but Blake can't do that, man. That's how he cooks.
We're trying to analyze how the Dodgers front office is looking at things. Like, my opinions can be different than theirs. I think I try to match up a lot because I think the Dodgers front office knows what they're doing pretty well. Correct. I think they've been pretty effective in proving that. So they usually are making moves for a reason. I think it's pretty rare when they make a move that's just mind-boggling that you don't get at all. Probably one or two here and there. I'm sure if we go back and watch the tape on some of our old clips, you can see me criticizing some of their moves, but overall, they have a good idea of what they're doing.
Yeah, and it's just stuff that you can trust them. You can follow this line of how they operate. And I think by now, our Chad, I give you guys credit all the time, and I'll continue to do it. You're very smart. You understand trends with this organization, and we do our best to keep you in the loop there. Quick shout out to the DB staff. Everybody here at Dodger Blue. We've been having more, in-person coverage. Blake, Matt, at every single event. I don't think there's anybody out there doing it like we are. So all the credit in the world to Matt Moreno, Blake Williams, doing the absolute most to bring everybody as much live coverage, quotes, in-person interviews. So big shout out to you guys. I know you don't like giving yourself a pat on the back or hearing this praise, Blake, but hell of a job recently. This offseason was short. but the workload that you've had has been nothing but long.
Yeah, it feels like the World Series just ended, and now we're already here. Like spring training's in what, 2 weeks or something? It's flown by. The Dodgers definitely keep us busy.
Sure, for sure. Real quick, GI brought it up, and he's 100% right. The Ryan Brasier DFA is just more about the 26-man roster than the 40-man, and there's a ton to that. Absolutely, it depends on the availability of Michael Kopech and how stuff shakes out there. But I think right now is a good prime time to trade him. Do it sooner rather than later, and at some point you just have to make a decision. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I think teams always want to get ahead of trading guys before it's too late to do it. Like the Dodgers probably would have loved to move Chris Taylor in 2018 or 2019 or whatever, the year before his downtrend started. You can't always predict it, but I think Brasier is probably one of the guys where it is maybe more predictable in that sense. Like he was good last year, but it was some regression. He dealt with injuries. He's going to be 38 this year. Like it's not hard to see why they moved him or took him off their roster. I think it is about the 40-man as much as it is about the 26-man as well, because like I said at the start of this, 26-man stuff always works itself out with injuries and all that. Like we're probably going to be talking about who's going to be the last reliever on their roster once the season starts, and that's just how these things go. But yeah, I mean, it makes sense that they moved on from him.
And again, Chad, we're getting into the nitty gritty of the off season here. You know, it's just like Blake said, it's crazy that Ryan Brasier had such elite performance with the Dodgers and they ended up just, yeeting him out of here for a, diamond in the rough, hopefully prospect, a dart throw, just a clock reset type of guy. That's how a lot of this stuff works. That's literally how a lot of this stuff works and how the Dodgers have found some of their top prospects. So they've restocked the farm by making some of these type of moves here. Hopefully it's another one. Alex says, I hope he's joking here. I really hope he's joking. And it's like, and not like me with my Joe Kelly one. Alex says, what do I do now with my Ryan Brasier jersey? What does he do, Blake?
I was going to joke and say, should send it to you and you can build like the hall of former DFA'd or released Dodger relievers. And you can put up the Joe Kelly, you can get the Brasier, maybe throw a Joe Beimel and a Ronald Belisario up there. There's some other guys we can get you.
Ronald Belisario. I haven't heard that name in so long.
About Corey Wade.
Who was the reliever that was it who broke his arm? Was it Don Mattingly? Was it Paco?
No, Corey Wade was the guy Joe Torre ran out like 80 times in a year, and then
how many? It was
Paco was used a ton by Mattingly.
That's it.
And Pedro Baez used a ton. There is a time like 10 years ago where Pedro Baez was the second best reliever in their bullpen. And we have got to the point now where he would probably be like 13th or 14th prime Pedro Baez in this bullpen.
I'm gonna say this about Paco real quick, and then we're gonna reel it in because we do this all the time. Paco Rodriguez at age 22 was used in 76 games. And then the rest of his career, he threw 24 1/3 innings, and that was it. That's crazy.
Yeah.
He just ran it.
They traded him right at that time too, right? He was in the Braves trade, I think.
Atlanta Braves. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
He was good though, that 1 year. He's
unbelievable. That's just crazy. 24 years old, career's done after that, and he was a dog.
I think he's also the one he made his debut the same year they drafted him, I'm pretty sure.
Age 21, 2012. Yeah,
they took him out of Florida, I think, and made his debut that same year.
Love it. Chat, you always toss in some names I haven't heard in so long. Just keep doing that. Keep this going. Shout out to the 1,000 in here. We appreciate you all across all social media. Ramon Troncoso.
He's God. A quick pitching coach now. Troncoso is still in the org.
This is just, people are just got some crazy ones. Scott Proctor. Yeah. Scott Albert, man.
I have a game used Scott Albert jersey somewhere.
That's an insane thing to purchase, and I respect that so much.
It was from when the Dodgers game use section of their stadium store used to be affordable. I think it was like $80 or something. Like
Grant
to get an
Dayton.
authentic
Oh my
jersey.
gosh. Scarlett, do me a
Yeah.
favor. Scarlett, I feel like you have a good one just in the chamber. Yeah, George Sherrill. All right. Keep tossing those in. Make me laugh. Blake, I know he's going to be staring at the chat for all of those. We're going to talk about something that, has been a kind of a rumor thing and some chatter, taking some chatter around Major League Baseball. Of the only things you'd have to go so far, it's not low hanging fruit. You'd have to go so far into to pick this on the tree of what to criticize or critique about the Dodgers currently for this this team that they've built here, which we'll never see again. Like a caliber of team like this just won't happen. So you have to go pretty deep to find an issue like this. But now that Gavin Lux is gone, they've kind of brought in, aside from perhaps Kik Hernandez, we'll see how that goes. And if Chris Taylor is going to make this team, the Dodgers defense is, among some MLB executives, is something that they're keeping an eye on as a potential issue. And I know we've talked about it a bit. Kind of give me your thoughts on this, and then we'll take that away.
I think it could be. I think it might end up being close to average because like you're going to bring up stats and all the nerd stuff that might put some people to bed. Mm-hmm. But they position well. They know where to put their defenders, and that helps them out a lot. But at the same time, they still don't have a lot of talented defenders necessarily. You're potentially talking about, and depending on who wins the center field and second base job, you could realistically have an outfield of Conforto, Pajes, and Teoscar, which not ideal. You're having Mookie at shortstop, Muncy, who improved, still like not ideal, especially with Mookie at shortstop. If he doesn't improve much, you have potentially Ha-Seong Kim at second, which good defender, but we don't know if he'll be able to hit enough or how he's actually going to play at the major league level. Mm-hmm. And could be Tommy Edman mixing in there or center field. So outside of like Freddie Freeman, wherever Tommy Edman plays, and probably Will Smith, I'm not very confident in anyone on the Dodgers defense. So I think it could be a realistic problem. Whether that affects them with winning a World Series or not, I doubt that, but I think it could slightly become an issue at some point.
So I'm pulling up kind of as a team here, how the Dodgers did this last year defensively, and kind of where we can look at it. I know I see people bringing up how Mookie Betts, him shifting back to the infield, throws kind of a wrench in the plan here. You kind of agree with that? Or where do you don't go too much into Mookie Betts playing shortstop and how that goes on. It's a thing. It's happening now. That's just what it is. It's going to be a thing. The problem with the defense is the bulk of it with the three outfield positions. Could be.
Probably. I think so. Especially like if you're putting out the best lineup on the field, you're going to put Pajes in center and Edman in the infield. That's how it's going to work out. Whether they go with that or not remains to be seen. But an outfield with that group, even if you put in Edman over Pajes, those corner outfield spots, not good defenders. Teoscar might have been the worst defender on the free agent market. Conforto might be average at best. So it's not an ideal grouping. You got in Pajes there. It's pretty bad. You add in Edman. It's probably passable, but it's going to be something to watch for, definitely.
Yeah. Nomo, we weren't going to talk about him switching. That's just what it is. I've kind of turned that part of my brain off. I'm squarely looking at, the group of Michael Conforto, Tommy Edman, and Teoscar Hernandez here. And there's a lot of interesting data about, team positioning. And we know how the Dodgers are among or right at the very top of the league in outfield positioning. And there's some interesting data out there. If you don't like advanced analytics, just, I don't know what to tell you. Hang on for a minute. They do an exceptional job of, taking runs away purely based on outfield positioning. And I know that last year, a good bit of it was Jason Hayward. For whatever people think of him offensively, he was a quality defender. And you have Teoscar Hernandez out there. And then once Mookie Betts slid back out to right field following his return from injury, the defensive positioning in right field was quite good. They saved 14 runs in right field. Defensive positioning, they had 17 runs. purely based off outfield positioning. So I think they're going to continue to do that job. Teoscar Hernandez has talked about how he's much more comfortable playing in right field. His defensive value went way up this last year, but I think a lot of that came from his arm. I think that was a thing, and he just looked good. So we'll see how that continues. We'll see how a full season of Tommy Edman is in center field and Conforto in left. They were pretty much league average there with Tommy Edman and Michael Conforto. Teoscar Hernandez was the only one that had like an outlier season per advanced metrics with defensive stuff. So you could say that's where kind of defensive metrics can take a hit, because you wouldn't really say Teoscar Hernandez is a good outfielder defensively. But Blake Williams, are you concerned at all by that? Or I saw somebody make a joke in chat that Blake doesn't care about defense. He just cares if they slug.
Generally, I don't care about defense, but I think that more comes down to maybe one or two positions on the field. I think right now there's probably 5 maybe that I'm concerned about. And unfortunately, I think a ton of it would be solved by just putting Mookie at second and Tommy Edman at short. That would make me feel a whole lot better about the defense. But then you still have Pajes in center field, and that gives you concern there, because Edman is your best center fielder and probably the only really competent center fielder you have on the roster. So I have some concerns. Like, I still am overall of the mind, like, just hit and get strikeouts from your pitchers.
Takes care of the rest.
They're going to do a lot. Like, how often does the defense actually cost you a game? Like, I know the Game 5 of the World Series is in everyone's mind right now, but stuff like that is kind of outliers. Like, errors can come back to bite you, but more often than not, it's not going to change your season too much. It's not going to affect you each game at a huge level, usually. Like, sometimes it will happen, because I know people are going to push back on this one about how important defense is, but there's been teams that have had bad defenders and won the World Series. And Dodgers weren't great at every defensive position last year. They won. So, yeah, I just don't know how much it fully affects them. And I think the Dodgers pitching is so good, it'll probably offset a lot of that. And they're probably going to outscore their opponents, even if they make 1 or 2 errors. Yeah.
Last year, Dodgers, as a combined unit, they were, UZR 150, 4.3. That was 4th best in the league, -6 outs above average. Range factor, same thing. So you can skew it to however you want it. I forgot who it was. Was it GI? I'm not sure. Yeah, I think it was GI. Just need them to be average to above average. Just stay right there. Don't lose yourself some games. Don't have egregious errors. Don't look like you're lost. Don't pull, Jock Peterson and running around and spinning in circles for fly balls. Just be okay. And the rest will take care of itself there. And Mookie Betts playing shortstop, it's a thing. And that's just how it's going to be. I don't think the days of Mookie Betts playing right field will come back in 2025.
I agree.
Yeah. I think it's everybody. If you've had that thought in your mind that something's going to go south, I think this is the plan all along. We talked about it. Once Gavin Lux had his thing, it was like a fire alarm type of thing. You've got to make a shift somewhere. You've got to, put him at shortstop, take the lumps there. And then once you had, the only thing you could do there is put Mookie Betts out in the outfield. That was the way to go. But going forward, I really believe it's going to be, Mookie Betts shortstop, figure the outfield slots. I think they got enough. Angela, shout out to the $50 super chat here. She says, Happy Lunar New Year 2025. Showing the love. We're showing you the love, Angela. Thank you.
Yep. Happy Lunar New Year. I saw a lot of people talking about it in the chat, wishing everyone happy Lunar New Year. I think someone said it was the year of the snake. So, yeah, hopefully it ends with another Dodger World Series.
I see my buddy JB in here. He's a big Snakes fan. Shout out to the only Diamondbacks fan I really enjoy and associate with. So shout out to JB. He said Snakes up, Snakes down, man. Snakes been down, but Corbin Burns, love you. He says, Scott's man, only ball knower I know that wears blue. Facts. Just facts. How did you celebrate Lunar New Year?
I went to the Disneyland event for it. If that is a surprise to anyone.
I mean, I'm not surprised. Tell me about it.
I mean, they just had a lot of different food items and stuff, and they do some decorating, sell merchandise for it, of course.
Were you not impressed that I'm excited. I want to hear about this. Like, I don't think you expected a follow-up question.
I did not. It did catch me a little off guard. I did, to the chat for the record here, I did pitch Scott going to 90s night, and they give a fanny pack away, which he's a big fanny pack guy. So I think if I can convince him to go, so, maybe it's working a little bit here.
I'm in. Yeah, we'll talk about it. We'll see what happens. I went out last night with some friends. We went to some karaoke, and that was great. Enjoyed myself. Celebrated the Lunar New Year. So absolutely, Angela, we appreciate the support here. Again, appreciate this $50 super chat again. Everybody, shout out to the 1,200. Thank you so much. I think the defense will be fine. Last word on that. They'll be okay. They just got to hit.
I agree, but to go back to, I think it was GI's point, like they just need to be average. I want to ask you, how many do you expect to actually be average to above average? Because I'd say Will Smith, Freddie Freeman, Tommy Edman, probably like the only starters I could trust to be at least average or better.
I think Michael Conforto will be average. I think Tommy Edman. You said Tommy Edman?
Yeah.
Okay. I think 6 out of the 9. Sorry,
Who's
6 out of the 8. 6 out of the 8.
Okay, so who are you saying?
I say Teoscar Hernandez will be right there. I think he will be. His arm will make up for it. He's talked about being comfortable in right field. That's what I believe. Max Muncy, no clue. Mookie Betts. Mookie Betts has been kicking ass. We just, all credit to him. He's putting in the work. Early in the offseason, he was out there working. We fully believed that was going to happen. It was something that kind of an impossible feat to ask a major leaguer, at this stage of his career to go switch to shortstop, not have any offseason time to make this happen. So it was not something waiting to fail, but it was just an uphill battle. It was something that was really hard. Then he got hurt, and then everything goes on pause. I believe he would have figured it out towards the latter part of the year, because a lot of it, Blake, was just about throws. He had just the throwing errors were the thing that crippled him,
Yeah, I think it's hard to adjust that shortstop, though. Like, that's why we kept seeing that, because it is a challenge. So can he consistently make the throws? We'll see. And I think I'd also push back on Teoscar being like really close to average. I think I'd be more comfortable with Muncy than Teoscar being average this year. And I'm not saying like they can't get there. I'm saying like, who are you fully comfortable with that you expect them to be average? Like, not that they can get there, that you're expecting them to be there for sure.
Sure. Yeah. Take your pick. Chat. It's okay to be split, and it's all good.
I think there's questions about a few of the guys, and I think that does lead to conversation. Like, when you're looking for the weakness of a team, probably is the defense for this team. Even if you think they're going to be average, that's still the weakest position on the team.
Sure. Yeah.
So, yeah.
Your biggest question mark is to get it on a record defensively.
It's Andy Pajes if he's starting. If he's not, it's probably Mookie, and not like about talent or anything like that. It's just such an important position, shortstop there with defense. So like, if he can figure it out, it'll change a ton for how I view the team defensively. If he doesn't figure it out, then like, it's going to create questions. And then you'd probably have to move Mookie over to second base and Tommy Edman and Miguel Rojas filling it short, which is totally fine. Then you don't have another center fielder who's going to be good defensively. And I don't know. We'll see how it all plays out. But overall, they'll probably be fine. It's just we're kind of nitpicking at things and talking based off what other executives say about them. So it's fair questions.
100%. Alex, thank you for this comment here. He says, average defense still wins you a championship. That, coupled with offense that can carry you in the big moments, that can have the big swing when it matters. But exactly that. If the New York Yankees play average defense and they don't make as many errors in Game 5, they say make 1. Things are totally different. If you just halt those mental lapses, if you can halt the big errors, the snowball effect type of things there, and limit it to one instance, and then you get right back, to square, right back online, all those things are okay. You can withstand that. You just have to be fundamentally sound there. And BC, him and I, we're cooking tonight. Teoscar moving to a more natural position. That's where it's at. You know me, I'm listening to what these guys are saying. This isn't the old man. Don't bring that up tonight. I'm listening to purely what he's talked about for a bit and said for a year now about how, left field, he did the thing and played, moved back to left field at different times just to accommodate the roster, how they ever shifted him. But he said before his natural position is right field. The bulk of his time in the major leagues have been in right field. What are you laughing at? You laughing at me?
Two things. The first thing you said, if the Yankees played average defense in Game 5, things would be totally different. And I'm just sitting here thinking like, yeah, they would have lost in 6 instead of 5.
Sure.
Huge difference. And the other one was this one.
Yeah. Sign stealing scandal says, I'm retiring from Razin Scott on his age. He says partially because he's a dog and secondarily because we are the same age. Yeah. I love that. Man. Johnny asks when I'll play Warzone soon, man. Game's cooked right now. We'll see. MLB The Show's coming out here. I got to start prepping for that because everybody's been asking for an absolute massacre of Mr. Blake Williams on the sticks. So I got to prep. I got to get in the lab. I'm going to tell Blake I'm unavailable to work. I can't write. My week is done, and I'll just be in the lab. I'll just be playing.
Scott's on a big 2K run right now.
Yeah.
Playing center, getting 6 rebounds a game.
Playmaker, baby. I'm a dog. This is something that I wanted. We talked about. We worked on before stream. We wanted to really figure this out. It's a good question. Which Will Smith will the Dodgers get this year? You can start and go however you want. Chat, you chime in too with this. We'll read out the comments. You don't have to give me a bulk prediction. What does Will Smith have to do to avoid the second half drop off that he's just been having?
Yeah, I wanted to hear the chat's opinion on this one because I think it's such an interesting topic. I'm going to start out by saying I have no idea. I don't know what's going on with Will Smith. I don't know what goes wrong in the second half. Seems like every year he starts out elite, best catcher in baseball in the first half, and then just a significant drop off in the second half. There's 2023, I believe it was, or 2020. Yeah, it was related to the injuries probably. He denied it, but he had the broken ribs and the concussion. Last year, there wasn't that issue, and it's still significant drop-off there. So I think that is something to watch for in the season. Like, if Will Smith is the Will Smith that we know he can be for the entire season, that Dodger lineup is going to be crazy. I don't know, how anyone's going to pitch to them on a nightly basis. If he falls off a bit again, it is a concern because they signed him to a 10-year deal. It would be a consistent trend every year of him falling off in the second half. So I think this is kind of a big year for him and proving himself that he can stay productive for a full season. And if he can't, at some point you talk about maybe is Dalton Rushing going to be your catcher of the future? And maybe Will Smith needs to move to third base or first base or something like that. So I think it will be important for him this year to prove that he can stick a catcher for the full year, still be a contributor offensively down the stretch and go from there.
Yeah, because, we hear it a lot and we ponder, we mold the things that possibly could be going wrong for him or what he could, possibly need. And everybody kept reverting back to maybe he needs more days off. It felt like he got some days off, Blake. It felt like he had some time off.
They gave him quite a bit of days off last year. Yeah. People were complaining about Austin Barnes starting quite a bit, and it didn't really seem to change all that much. So yeah, they kept him fresh though. They got their fair share of Austin Barnes in last year.
And I really like this sign there, and I'll bring this up in just a minute, man. In the second half of this last year, Will Smith had a 79 WRC plus guy. That was 24th among qualified major league catchers. Does hearing that surprise you, or that was pretty much on par with what you saw?
I'm surprised it was that high from what I saw, but also it surprised me that he did do that poorly last year. We know he has the talent to be the best catcher in baseball. It's just something goes wrong every year in the second half. And I don't know what it is. He hasn't said anything's affecting him. He always says he feels fresh and they're giving him enough days off and everything's good with him. So it's just really interesting there to see if it's going to happen again. I
agree with you. I'm trying to find some more stuff here to find some outlier things, but it's just, he's got the second half drop off where you just don't see it. I'm sure I'll nerd this out and I'll report back to you at 4 a.m. of what I found, but his power really fell off a cliff. What I know is that he had timely knocks, and that's kind of how it goes. He had some timely hits in the postseason, And a lot of that's what matters, man. And he called a hell of a game. He was throwing runners out. Like, the value is there. And I think it's another case of just like a Ha-Seong Kim. If he is just adequate offensively, defense plays for what he does with his skill set, he provides a boost to the game in his own way. Saw somebody brought up in chat that, yeah, Will Smith is what he is. He's solid. He's fine, but he's not the next Mike Piazza. And that's fine. That's fine to say that. For where he fits within this Dodgers lineup, there isn't a better time to be paid like he is, to be able to just blend into an offense where he can get carried for a bit and provide a boost in the way that he has as far as like his game calling, which has gotten better. He's gotten away from a lot of the fastball stuff, and throwing guys out at an incredible rate. You okay there?
Yeah, I mean, you don't need to have an elite offensive catcher. Like, even if he's putting up an 80 weighted runs created plus for an entire year, he's going to be fine value-wise for the team because of everything else he brings. It's just really interesting looking at the lineup and like considering the long-term outlook for him. What kind of player are you getting? Because if he's an 80 weighted runs created plus guy, you're essentially getting like a lesser Yadier Molina type on both offense and defense for the entire part of his career, which I say lesser, especially on defense. I think that's a very big margin there. Offense probably pretty close around the same levels there, but like it can be a valuable piece. It's just he was expected to be a superstar for this team, and to see that drop off every year, it is a confusing trend. His OPS has decreased every single year. So I don't know how to like describe it. It's something we haven't seen too often before because even with the drop off, he's still a good player. It's just we're seeing a consistent drop off every year and then falling off a cliff in the second half. So I am very curious to see what Will Smith we get for the majority of the year.
Yeah, hard hit rate wasn't very good second half of the year there. That's complete translation to a lot of the power. I remember some conversation we had was bat speed and stuff like that, but I think that's just how he is. I think that's just it. We'll see what changes happen. But I think it's time the extra rest days conversation is something that people can't just hinge on. There's definitely something that has gone on with Will Smith. I just wanted to get your opinion and bring chat into this tonight about, what should we look out for with Will Smith? Because it's a conversation we haven't had in quite some time. Once that postseason got rolling, it was just Will call a hell of a game, keep throwing runners out, keep those extra bases, at an absolute premium. And he did just that, provided the hit when necessary. During the San Diego series, he had a pop, and that was good stuff. So I'm cool with it as long as he just isn't a black hole on both sides. I think we're okay. I think we can live with that, Blake.
Yeah, I think so. I saw this. Maybe it's the mental side with him. I don't think that's the case. I think he's probably one of like stronger mental players on the team. He's calling the games and controlling the pitchers and doing a very good job there. I think even with his slump, he's still usually taking quality at bats. He's not a guy who's going to chase a lot or swing at bad pitches. Like, he knows what he's doing in the zone. He's just not getting quality contact. Power is down, slug is down. So I'm not sure. Maybe it's a mechanical adjustment and he just gets tired and he's not able to do what he normally does. But yeah, it's interesting. Like, that's the word I can keep describing it with because I don't know what to make of it fully. I just don't think it's the mental side of his game.
Yeah. Talk about this here. Talk about what Kenny says.
Yeah. I mean, every pitcher was praising him for his game calling. I think he improved a lot on that this year. And like, that's a fine trait if that's what your carrying card is as the catcher. Like, if you're going to be an average hitter and call a great game, you're going to have a very long career at the major league level. What we're talking about with Will Smith is like, is he a good starter or is he a superstar level player? And if he can keep his offense up from the first half of the year through the whole season, he's potentially like a Hall of Fame caliber player throughout his career if he can do that. So far, he has not been able to do that, and that's what separates him from being one of the best of all time to being a good starter with some all-star appearances here and there.
Well, they better get used to it, or chat, you better get used to it, and seeing what Will Smith has done, because he's under contract through the 2033 season. And he's 29 years old. So if there was ever a lineup, just being average, just being okay on offense, and then defense, I want you to be a little bit more. I want you to become, just like Kenny said, be the catcher that pitchers appreciate, that they highlight you for your game calling, for throwing runners out, really controlling the game from behind the plate. That sounds like an old school catcher, Blake, doesn't that?
Sounds like Austin Barnes with arm strength.
That's crazy. Matt is standing up right now, clapping up a storm. He is nodding his head up and down, 100%.
I mean,
thoughts real quick.
Why Barnes is still around. His defense
cool.
and game calling value, like,
it's gonna give you a career. Just for Will Smith, it provides you a little bit more boost of upside, and perhaps that's their bar. Perhaps where the Dodgers are like, this is what we need. Will Smith provides just enough there. It's going to get better game calling wise, run prevention from behind the plate, and just provide us a little bit of offense. Will, just do that for us. And now we have the higher paid Austin Barnes in Will Smith.
I'm clipping that one.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Just the higher paid Austin Barnes and Will Smith. That's the entire clip. No other context.
There you go. I believe he'll, bounce back. Optimism in me. Yeah. Common sense just with that same type of thing. Great minds. Great minds. Do the Dodgers have a second base, center field competition, Blake?
It seems like it. And that was when we were talking about this. That's my pick for what to watch for in spring training, how that all shapes out. They don't have a set second baseman as things stand right now. The expectation was Gavin Lux. They traded him, of course, and now you have a hole there. You have multiple guys who could come in and be that option, whether it's Ha-Seong Kim. Some people don't think he's ready or will step into the major league level and produce enough to be their starter. Could be Kik Hernandez if they re-sign him. He's a free agent. Chris Taylor still on the roster. Could be an option. Yeah. Tommy Edman, if you move him in from center field, could be an option there. If you move in Tommy Edman, then you're creating the center field option. So these things are very connected here. Like you have James Outman and Andy Pages and Tommy Edman who can all mix in at center field. And then you have Chris Taylor, Ha-Seong Kim, Tommy Edman, potentially Kike, and Miguel Rojas at second base. So there's no like real starter there that is a clear lock to start besides Tommy Edman. So you have the rest of the guys fighting for one spot on this team. And I think that's what we're going to be watching quite a bit at spring training.
What's your, from what you've read, what you've heard, I know we haven't seen a lot with Scooter Booter brought it up about Ha-Seong Kim and the clause in his contract that he still has the opportunity. He can be optioned down to the minor league. So yes, that is a thing with Kim. Do you believe that he's going to be given the opportunity to be that everyday second baseman from what they see in spring training? Because that's how I see it.
I think they'll give him the chance, but I don't think it's going to be like, go start there and that you're going to be the guy until you prove you're not. I think they're going to try and make him earn it, see what they have in the other guys as well. I think if the season started right now, I think Tommy Edman's their second baseman and Andy Pages is in center field for the majority of games. I think they'd end up platooning where maybe against a righty, you throw in Kim or someone else there at second base and Tommy Edman goes to center field. But I think it's going to shape out where a lot of Tommy Edman's time is going to be at second base. And that creates a hole in center field defensively. That goes back to the other thing we talked about that I don't love, but they don't really have another quality starting option for either of those spots. And I think Andy Pages is the second best guy they have. It's just putting a hit on the defense there.
Interesting. That's a really interesting take. And I see people agreeing with you. Yeah. I mean, I don't, it's not that I don't hate what you're saying. That's an interesting take. That's an interesting thing because Blake, I really feel like a lot of the chat and a lot of people that I speak to have kind of fallen into the thing that second base is Kim or Chris Taylor or Kik Hernandez when he does, if he does re-sign with the Dodgers, and the everyday center field job is Tommy Edman. Because I think you're underestimating how many people really do think that way. Like that's how it's going to shake out.
I thought of that way for quite a bit this offseason, but the more I thought about it, like Andy Pages is a safer bet to be a quality player than Ha-Seong Kim this year. I don't think anyone's going to debate that. No. So if you're talking about like setting the lineup right now, I think Pages probably has the inside edge on that. And like Dave Roberts said earlier in the offseason, we have some things to figure out in center field. He didn't say at shortstop or left field or right field or second base or first base or catcher or anything else. He said center field, which at that time, everyone was thinking it's Tommy Edman's job pretty much regardless. Then they traded Gavin Lux. So I just think center field might be the spot they're looking at, like who's going to win the job there. And they said Ha-Seong Kim is a utility guy. That's what they view him as. So maybe him and Pages end up platooning a bit, but I still think Pages is probably the runaway favorite at this moment for the job.
I love that you brought this up. I really do. It's kind of, I love doing these shows, Chad, with Blake, because he provided, he provides these viewpoints where you don't think of these matchups. And I encourage everyone to really think about that. Just because Kim got that contract, Gavin Lux was shipped out, doesn't mean that he's going to be the everyday second baseman. Like I love what Andy Pages provided. He was one of the best hitters against lefties as a whole, like his entire body of work this last year against left-handed pitching there. He is a right-handed, power bat. We saw what he did in the postseason. Power can happen in bursts. I know there's knocks on his defense. A lot of this comes with reps.
Could have switch here.
Did that just happen? Why'd that happen?
I don't know. I'm switching us back. That was weird. Okay,
crazy.
Well,
but I think Andy Pages, like he's going to learn, like he's going to play a better center field. That's just how I feel. I know the metrics and whatever nerd thing you're going to tell me, it's not going to back it up, or maybe you don't have it, or maybe you just agree with me. Nod your head if you agree with me, Blake, that Andy Pages will be a better defensive center fielder in 2025, given, bulk opportunities.
I think better, yes, because the bar is not very high. I'm not saying he's going to be good or quality, but better is a very low bar.
Okay. Yeah. I love his offensive profile. I love it. He's not afraid. He's one of those where there were times where he was diving a little too far out, but he showed that you make a mistake. He's got a lot of pop in the bat, and he showed more promise, than a Dodgers prospect has offensively in a bit. So he found that he had the low, the valley, and he came back to norm. He came back to the norm there. So I'm encouraged with him, and I'm glad that you didn't bring up James Outman, because what's your outlook for Mr. James Outman in 2025?
So I did say this. I think it was on a show with Anthony and Jeff. I think it was them. Maybe Matt was there, but I said Outman could be in the mix for this starting spot in center field. That being in line, like I don't think he's the favorite. I think he has a lot of work to do to prove that he's the best option, but I wouldn't totally rule out him getting the job. My personal view on him is I think he's probably a fourth outfielder at best, who can maybe occasionally start some games. For a team like the Dodgers, you're probably not going to start a whole lot of games with that kind of roster, but I wouldn't totally rule him out. He just needs to prove that he can hit consistently and not be a total black hole like he was last year.
I just don't believe it.
I would also say I think Miguel Rojas has a good chance to start at second base quite a bit too. I think he proved what he showed last year. He was solid offensively. He was a great defender.
Yep.
Like, if you can limit him more with platooning him with Pages mixing in and Kim mixing in and stuff like that, like Rojas could end up being the primary guy there. Mm-hmm. He's just not an everyday guy, which is our concern with him last year. But there's enough guys to mix in where it doesn't have to be a huge concern, and you kind of play them there in the more important games. So they have options. It's just about spring training, figuring out who is the best one for there. They probably have an idea of what they want to do, but I think spring training is going to determine a lot of this. And you might see a bit of an open competition early in the season to see who runs away with the job or proves that they can earn it. Like they might do a month where Kim's their starter, and then a month where Pages is their starter, and then a month where Rojas is their starter type thing, and just see what's the best, because we know they don't really care about the regular season all that much. It's just about getting ready for the postseason.
Yeah, and these guys, I saw BC bring it up about he thinks that Miguel Rojas will play more shortstop. I think that for what I love about Miguel Rojas is his ability to just come off the bench in a spot start, play well if he needs to play some extended time before his body, has had some troubles, which we've just seen. That's just the nature of how it is. He shows up to spring training, a little bit banged up, body's got to get going there. That's not a knock. He's just got a lot of miles, but he is a steady piece, and I've enjoyed it. I hated to see people bring up the fact they're like Miguel Rojas could have been someone they let go. It's like, give me a break, man. Like, you need those type of guys on the roster. You need somebody. I know what he did in the postseason, yada, yada. I know what happened with the triple play is what it is. But you need someone that just provides some bat to ball. You need someone who's got the veteran presence there that you love, those veteran presence, and be a good piece defensively. Be a mentor. Clubhouse loves him. And I like him in a spot start. That's how it goes. So he's got a bench piece for me. I think they have enough options to shuffle some things around there. Tommy Edman, however they're going to play him. I saw somebody bring up that James Outman, to find a certain level of consistency, he just has to not start 0-2, which is he did just a ton. But for a player like that, Blake, I fall into it. You're just not going to have the starting opportunities to fail that much. You just don't have the ability to do that. Like with the Dodgers, like if you can spot start and find and be struggling, and within those spot starts and in those pinch hit appearances, find a certain level of consistency that allows you to stay. That's how it can happen. I just don't think James Outman's that guy. I think he needs to start on like a everyday basis, or that's just how it is. It's another one of those players where it's a victim of opportunity. Do you have that runway? I just don't see it anymore with the Los Angeles Dodgers. If I'm proven wrong, that's okay. I'm not playing both sides. That's just the Dodgers are a team where if you don't perform, you just don't have the runway to, be underwhelming for such a long period of time.
I don't know. We saw Gavin Lux get quite a long runway last year. They seem to love those runways for guys, but
that would happen, man.
I don't really see. What do you mean? What happened? He won a World Series. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
I don't really see Outman having the runway, but I think he could get a chance in spring training. I think they're not ruling him out as a starter. I just don't think it's going to be that lengthy runway that other guys have had in the past. But I think he'll mix into the group at some point, probably. They don't have a deep position player depth pool, so like if someone gets hurt, he could be one of the first guys up. And I think he'll play a role on the team. It's just, is he a bench guy? Is he a starter? Is the question that James Outman has to answer this year, not anyone else.
Yeah, good point. I agree with you. It's getting to that spot. He can be, when it comes to having, I'm not going to say a gluttony of options because they don't. They just have starting caliber pieces where there is a 1 through 4, possibly 5 who I'd put out there, and that's kind of where it's at. Some injuries would have to happen. Remains to be seen. We'll keep an eye on it. We know his defense. That's just how it goes. We did the Dodgers Fest preview, right?
Wait, real quick. No, we didn't. But real quick, I see a lot of talk about like Muncy platooning and Rojas. I think if the season started right now, Rojas would be platooning quite often with Muncy at third base.
Yes.
He can play third. Rojas has played every infield position, including first base. And when the Dodgers acquired him, they said they planned to play him in left field a bit. That didn't happen because he took over at shortstop and other things happened. But yeah, Rojas can play everywhere. I think if Kike resigns, he'll be platooning a lot with Muncy at third base, and then Rojas kind of moves around. I don't see him playing a ton at shortstop because I don't see them taking Mookie Betts off the field often, and I don't think Mookie's going to be moving around. So I think you're going to see a lot of Rojas' time come at third base and second base this year.
Yeah. No shot Mookie Betts plays second base at all?
There's a shot. I just think if you're trying to get him ready for the postseason to be your shortstop, like you're not going to benefit a whole lot from moving him around. I think they're just going to keep him there more often than not and see how things go.
Gotcha. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, Russ says, he says Scott's analysis on Outman sounds good, but doesn't follow suit with Chris Taylor. What do you make of that right there? Because I know what I say. It's about like the utility guys and just purely having the options, chat. Like this is where it comes down to. Like in years past, it just comes down to who is a player that could fill in that spot. They just haven't had it. Sometimes they've been forced into doing it. Last year was because they just didn't have anybody. The entire bench was underperforming. And this year it's looking ahead. They've got guys who you can project to be better than like what James Outman can provide on a day-to-day basis, barring an injury. So you're not going to just on opening day, if everybody's healthy, provide him that much of a runway. That's my stance on it.
I mean, the main thing here is with Chris Taylor's runway, he's making $20 million a year, and that's about it. Like if he was a $1 million guy, he's probably not on the team at this moment. He probably would have been DFA'd at some point last year, but he's making a nice salary this season, and they're going to kind of stick with him because of that.
Chris Taylor, man, we'll see. TBD on it. I think he stays with the team. I know I was just like, I think I said on a show with Jeff, and maybe even what we said, that I don't even know if I said that he was going to be off the team, but maybe they'll explore it. What's your final stance on it?
I said like a week or two ago that I think Chris Taylor is going to be on the roster on opening day, and a lot of people were not happy about that. But saying like, look at the track record of the front office.
Look at the appearances that he's done this offseason.
Yeah, he does a lot of charity stuff.
A lot. Like he's done a lot. He's done a lot.
Real quick,
Laura,
with his polar plunge coming up, Jeff asked me like what we have to do to get me to partake in the polar plunge. We can get some good answers from the chat. Maybe we'll consider some.
Somebody would have to like donate a 2-night stay at the Disneyland resort and hotel and a one-on-one private dinner with Mickey Mouse himself, the Mickey Mouse, not a guy in a costume, the Mickey Mouse. And then you'd be like, ah, man.
If you go to 90th night and buy the ticket for me, I'll do the polar plunge, record it.
Here for dinner, Blake. Ha ha.
The plate is on your table, Scott. Everyone chat, hear that?
Oh my God. It's in my, balls in my court, eh? Mr. Blake Williams, folks. Yeah, Ian. Chat. We're going to talk about, Dodgers Fest here. Give a little preview. Mr. Blake Williams will be in the house with the Matt Moreno, an absolute dynamo duo. What do you got for us on that? Lot of names showing up.
A lot of people scheduled to speak, including Hyun-Sung Kim, Blake Snell, and Tanner Scott. Shohei Ohtani, Mookie Betts, and Freddie Freeman are the highlights that are going to be on the stage. Probably talking with Vassay and maybe some of the other SNLA people. And then long list, the full list that they've announced so far is Banda, Barnes, Betts, Kasparius, Conforto, Edman, Fiducia, Freeman, Glasnow, Gonsolin, Gratterall, Grove, Hernandez, Hurt, Kim, Knack, Miller, Ohtani, Outman, Pajes, Rojas, Scott, Sheehan, Snell, Stone, Taylor, Vesia, Yamamoto, Friedman, Gomes, and Roberts. So long star-studded list there. And they still have VIP experiences available. But as of right now, tickets are sold out for the event. So, yeah.
Wow. A lot going on. And it is not inside the stadium, just so we can, an FYI for everyone. It will be taking place. Which parking lot is this? Lot D. No,
that's the media one, I believe.
Sorry. Scrambling. Chat, we're scrambling.
You didn't ask me to do it. I think it's Lot B.
Lot B.
Lot D is part of it. Lot P and Top Deck, I guess.
Because of the ongoing renovations there. So it's, it's sold out, but keep an eye, I'm sure. Is there any secondary market stuff? I don't know. Chat, you guys are smart. You can figure that out. Different from years past. Sad I'm not going to be there. I don't know. I'll tune in later on. You'll send me your favorite stuff and you'll clip the stuff that I should watch. Definitely.
Yeah, we'll have all the interviews up on YouTube, so everyone should go check those out. A lot of photos and tweets and lots of coverage like we do every year. We've been at all the other charity events they've done this week. I think there's only one or two we haven't been to of the 10 they do. So go check those out on YouTube. Put in a lot of work on those. The one of Tony Gonsolin reading, great watch, even if you just skip to Tony reading. He read the cat wants cuddles, and there's a clip of him just saying like cuddles, cuddles, cuddles. And
did you, because you are an absolute cat lover, were you as enthralled listening to him reading that book? Did you pull up a kid's chair for that book reading?
I did not pull up a chair. I was standing recording it, but it was pretty great. And then have an interview with him after. He shared what he's looking forward to this season and an update on his health. Yeah, so worth a watch there. Go check it out. Also had one from the birthday party they do every year for unhoused children. And there's some cool animals in there. There's a baby alligator, deer, a sloth, a bird that screams into the mic. Lots of fun stuff.
That's a great event. That chat, those are the type of things that the Dodgers put together. I love that one. The one Blake just mentioned, the birthday event. That's an incredible one. So the Dodgers doing some incredible outreach stuff here. We know about the donation of, it was $100 million by Mark Walter.
Yeah.
Mark Walter ownership group there, everything. So just incredible stuff from this front office, the Dodgers organization there. We've said enough. They know what they do. We know what they do. We're very fortunate. People are asking for the Blake and Scott interview of Blake and Scott. That would be so much. It would be, oh my gosh, I'm thinking of a movie. Oh my gosh. What's that movie? No. It's like a Leonardo DiCaprio movie. Inception. That would have been like an Inception type thing. The world would blow up. Too much Blake and Scott in one space. Too much dominance. Too much powerhouse.
Do we want Snell or Trinan? Trinan, if we get Trinan, it's relievers. Get both of them perspective there.
Can you ask is Blake Snell's going to be there?
Yeah.
Can you ask Blake Snell if he'll play me, or like if we could do co-op on MLB The Show off record?
If he's just walking around and I have a chance to like talk to him kind of one-on-one for a bit, I can try and bring that up. That's
okay, cool. That'll be great. That'll be elite Dodger Blue content. That would be something that I'm not seeing anybody do. If we can get Blake Snell and play some MLB The Show with Dodger Blue, live stream that thing, I'll bring that to the masses. That would be elite. So we're going to work on Blake Williams here. You've heard it here, folks. He's going to set that up for us. Keep tabs. But do us a favor here. Toss in the questions. This is the segment here. If you have any burning questions, all caps question, follow it up with whatever you want to yap about, and we'll take care of that. We'll go from here. I know Blake's been starring a few, but we'll do our best. We'll do this for a little bit.
I think we answered. Oh, there's this one.
Kenny says, due to the 26-man roster crunch, would you have re-up Barnes regardless of Kershaw connection, and Rojas if the front office had to do it all over again? Yeah.
Yeah, I think they still bring them back. Like we were talking about, they don't have much depth on their position player side. Their 40-man roster is mostly pitchers at the moment, so I think they would still keep them around.
Yeah. There we go. Eden says, do they start Will Smith at cleanup? I don't think so.
No, I think he'll bat like 6th or something around there.
You
have to consider like Ohtani, Freeman, Betts, say Oscar is going to be your top 4, and then probably Muncy 5, maybe Smith 6, and however you want to mix up the rest, Edmund, Kim, Pajes, whoever else.
LA for life. Sorry, man, we haven't gotten to this one for a bit. I know you've asked it a few times. I know a couple other people in chat have asked about this. The Dodgers going to introduce Kirby Yates tomorrow.
Yes, they are having a press conference at 11 a.m. tomorrow. I'll be there. We'll have the video up on our YouTube channel. We'll have photos, probably some live tweets. Yeah,
please do us a favor, guys. Like we put out as much YouTube content. I would say, as far as anybody, interviews wise, we do a terrific job there. Blake, Matt, incredibly hard at work, pulling as many quotes as we can from those as needed, and posting full length interviews. I enjoy those a lot. I've preached to the choir about consuming as much Dodgers media as possible. Like these are the teams where everybody should get to know, because that's what we're going to be talking about in 20, 30 years. And then when I'm old and gray, I'm going to be calling Blake in my delusion and saying, remember in 2024 where I was screaming about Kik Hernandez and then I croak and the line goes dead. That's gonna be great.
What do you mean when you're old and gray?
Next question. Sign Stealing says, will we ever see, he's saying Dalton Rushing be the backup catcher plus corner outfielder? I think that's the way that they're headed. I think that's on the track that they're headed there. I think the real question is, because we saw him have so much time in left field, the opportunities for the backup catcher spot, or like getting some time behind the plate, will come. I think they just wanted to see how competent of an outfielder he could be. And I think he's showing himself there. Blake, where do you stand with Dalton Rushing?
Yeah, I think that's probably his ideal path, probably more outfield than catcher, but maybe he'll mix in from time to time. Will Smith being signed for the long term makes it tough to get him in at catcher. I don't think they're going to move him probably not often or not anytime soon. So yeah, I see Rushing getting quite a lot of play in the corner outfield eventually. It's probably why Conforto is around 1-year deal, kind of stopgap, and then Rushing probably takes over the next year as their primary left fielder. So that's how I see it working out too.
Yeah. I just enjoyed what I saw from him in a corner outfield spot. That's someone who, people have called, and I know you heard this quote too, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's like the most, advanced he's the most major league ready minor league bat that the Dodgers currently have.
Yeah.
Is it particularly close to anybody else, or it's Dalton Rushing, and then there's a pretty considerable gap, and then the rest who are on their, very on their way?
It's probably a pretty sizable gap there, especially if you include like the talent wise. I think Alex Freeland and Austin Gauthier could probably come up and be quality bats, like major league type players, but
yeah,
they don't provide near the level of production that Rushing is expected to provide. So yeah, it's probably not close.
Let's see here. He says again, Scott's going to wipe the floor with Blake Snell and shatter his confidence for the season. No, man. He won't want to go, one-on-one there. That'll be a rough scene because he'll use himself. And let's be honest, Blake Snell, that his player on MLB The Show doesn't have a good pitch mix. No sinker. I'm good. That's easy.
No sinker, no cutter.
No sinker, no cutter. I'm good, man. I'm mercy ruling, but we're going to play co-op. We're going to play on the same team. We're going to climb the leaderboards here. He's going to probably miss some scheduled off day bullpen stuff because we've got business on co-op, but that's just how it's going to be. So Blake Williams is going to set that duo up. Blake Snell will be hopefully coming to an MLB The Show stream on Dodger Blue coming to you. Percentage of Kik Hernandez re-signing with the Dodgers. We're getting to that point. People are going to start questioning this. They're looking at the roster. Blake, has that wavered for you at all? Or we just got to be patient?
I think it's just a patient thing. I would still say it's like 70% or something like that. I just don't see where else he fits on another team. He's not all that good of a player. Like, if we're being honest about him, he has his postseason moments, but like other teams just aren't going out and signing a guy because they had very good postseason games kind of thing. Like, it's just how it goes. So I think he'll be back. But
with that Ryan Brasier money freed up, you know where that's going.
Yeah. I mean, maybe 4.5 million for Kike, get it done. Sure.
Somebody says Matt said he's going to get 8 million or more, and I know Jeff was pushing back on that quite hard. And I was like, I said in chat a few times, I was like, he's getting like 5. Let's be honest.
Yeah, here. I think 5 is like the max he'd get.
Yeah,
and even 3 or something. Yeah. No,
Matt's over here like, see what he did in the World Series, see that value, see that grit. I know, I get it, but there is a world where he is a 1-year type player at this point of his career here. You know what you're getting from him. Am I anything else said to reinforce that, Blake, or is that just kind of the market for what he is?
Grit does not get you paid. So home runs and OPS get you paid, not grit.
People saying Matt's still on the Keektober high. Yeah, he is. Yeah. Yes, correct. Kenny says it's a wrap that Kike will be in Dodger Blue this season. It's to that point, guys. It's to the point where some of these players that are at this part of their career, or like Teoscar Hernandez, know the best place for them is exactly right in front of them. If you have an opportunity, if they say just hang on, go ahead. Go ahead. Do you think there will be a stopping point though, Blake? Or do you think it's just like kind of like a lock no matter what? They'll figure it out.
I think it will get figured out. I think Kike understands what his market is. I don't think he's expecting to get 8 million or more a year or for multiple years. I think he knows he's going to get like $1 million or 1 year for a few million and be happy with that. Because if he didn't have the postseason moments, like we're realistically talking about him, like what minor league deal is he getting from a team? So he has to be realistic about his market. He knows it.
Correct. Yeah. It's worth bringing up his regular season stuff there, but just stay patient, everybody, with Kike Hernandez. I'm confident that he'll be with the Dodgers. They'll find some room. They'll figure it out. It's just a waiting game. TQT, it's good to see you tonight, man. Thanks for the question. He says there's a random rumor about Alex Bregman that's most likely nothing. What do you think if we get him? Is 2017 just forgotten? There's parts of this that I'll stay away from because Blake and I.
That's a big asterisk fan.
I'm not a big Astros fan. I know I said even after 2020, I was like 2017 is over with. It's over and gone. I'm not worried about it anymore. It's just, it was in the past. That's how I saw it. I've explained it to you a few times. I know people disagree with that. And I don't think you should like get on people because they don't just like sit and hate the Astros 24/7. It's like those players aren't around, but like with Alex Bregman, I don't think that will be a thing. And it's just like a frivolous rumor at this point. It's just kind of, oh, the Dodgers have a possibility to get him, but it's like the bulk of that team is gone. And that's kind of where I stand on it. But I think TQT, I think it's over. Like I think that rumor is most likely nothing.
Yeah. I have said I will forgive the Astros when they pay me back for my Game 2 World Series ticket. So until that happens, my logic is, they say it's free to move on and like be kind. It's also free to be a hater. So I'm going to keep being a hater of this Astros team until they pay me back.
I love that. I like that a lot. I actually haven't heard you say that. Yeah, no, Blake, I get you. I get you, but it's not that it was easier for me to just move on. It's just Dodgers got the ring in 2020. That softened the blow a bit. That was great. And then they just have had nothing but success, and all those players have just been, leaving. And the Astros have suffered some heartbreak. So
when those players are out of the league, I think it'll be easier. Like, I don't want to see Correa or Springer or Bregman having success still. So, like, when they're gone, then it'll probably be easier.
I like this here. Laura says free to be a hater. I think I'm going to remind you of that all year long. Is that okay? Is that all right with you?
Go for it.
I like that. Blake's free. It's free to just be a hater. I'm in on that. That's good stuff here. Rich, super chat. Thanks, man. It's good to see you tonight, Rich. Hope you've been well. He says, Bregman might as well be a serial killer. Crazy.
Yes, I wanted Carlos Correa.
I don't need to explain it again. You're just opening that. Everybody knows why. The logic was sound. I have some, analysis every now and then, Blake, and provide that there. It was a position of need. Don't act like you don't know ball when it comes to a position of need and a shortstop on the free agent market.
I mean, they had one, and then they let him go.
Okay, Blake. Next thing. No. Larry, I didn't even read the question before. He says, will the Dodgers have to pay Brasier if he signs with another team?
No. Well, if he gets claimed, then no. If they trade him, they could work it out where they pay some of his contract. If he just goes to free agency and then a team signs him, then yes, they're still on the hook for his salary. So it depends how the other team acquires him. There's 2 options for no and 1 for yes.
Alex says, I'd rather see Blake at shortstop than Carlos Correa. Chat, type in the chat, what would Blake's outs above average be if he played shortstop?
Negative 3,000. It's that records. It'd be historic.
Somebody says 0. That's elite. That's elite.
Yeah, 0. I'm getting a nice contract next year.
All right, there we go. J.O., I saw this. This was interesting. I mean, I want to bring up that. Did you see the rumor that the San Diego Padres, would possibly include a top prospect to move Xander Bogaerts? Did you see that?
I did see that, yes.
That's a massive contract. You'd have to do a lot more than just giving away a top prospect.
Yeah, I don't think it happens, but the Padres are a little desperate for money.
Yeah, I don't want to. I mean, I'll let chat. You guys are much better at dunking on other things than I am. I could do that, but I'm not doing that on stream. Come on. But that Xander Bogaerts contract is insane. Like, who would have thought? Who would have thought that giving contracts or fielding 7 shortstops on a single team is a bad idea? Who knew?
I mean, I'd rather have 7 than 0. So, maybe the Padres are figuring out some things over the Dodgers.
Oh, TQT said that came from Jim Bowden. Yeah.
Ralph.
Yeah. Let's take that for what it's worth there. But Xander Bogaerts' contract is horrid. Who would do that? 11 years, $280 million. Stop. Nonsense. He says, Any chance the Dodgers include a prospect to trade Chris Taylor? $40 million swing because of the CB tax if they can move the contract. I don't think it's that serious. Would they look into it? But I don't think it's that serious.
It's probably not, but it's essentially how much they value the prospect over the money there. And another team being willing to eat the money, I think a lot of teams probably wouldn't because they're cheap. And I don't think it matters all that much for the Dodgers. Like, if they had the option to sign a top or highly regarded prospect for $40 million, they'd probably do it. So I just don't see it.
Yeah, his contract's not that much of a sink to have to do that. I just don't think it's that thing. GI says same thing. Why trade away a prospect when they could just DFA Chris Taylor? I agree. That's the root of it. Jo, thanks for the question.
Because you still have to pay the money if you DFA him.
Yeah, but I mean, but it's just like you could just keep him. You could just keep him on there. It's just there's reasons why I could tell you to get rid of him, or reasons why I would just say to keep him. So for what the contract is, to not have to just give the money away, I would just say just keep him. He provides position versatility without having to give up a prospect. If you're trying to move him, you don't have to just pay him outright to be somewhere else. Just the same reasons why you'd get rid of him. I could give you reasons why you would just keep him, even if his production is poor. That's just it. Good question, though. That's interesting. 300 said, I paid good money to see Blake take grounders off the bat of Ohtani. Would you wear catcher's gear?
No, but I wouldn't be like bodying up grounders and fielding it correctly. Like, I'm fielding everything to my side.
Backhand?
Yeah, probably some backhands there. Yeah.
Are you wearing a catcher's mask at least? Or are you just going up there?
The Dodgers don't get many tough hops on their field. They keep it pretty nice. So,
who said you're doing that there? I'm taking you to.
I'm not doing this at like a park or a little league field or something. That is.
I'm taking this to a rec league softball dirt field, and I'm telling him to just fungo some.
I might back away from some, but I'm not wearing gear or anything like that. That would be hard to move in that catcher gear like that, fielding grounders.
Yeah, Kenny says Blake's not shying away from anything. He's going out there. Yeah, he wants that interview. Ohtani says you get like a full 1 hour sit down. Blake Williams and I, you snag this and make a Jeter throw. You're trying your heart out. Yeah,
sure.
I love it. That'd be sick. That's a good, man. We're cooking. Let's see here. Take two more. Two more, and then some comments we've got too.
Are they done with their offseason?
He says, are the Dodgers finally done with the offseason besides Kershaw and Kik? I think that would be it. Like, I think that would be the entire thing.
Probably, so, yeah. They'll do their 60-man moves with Sheehan and Stone and whoever else they're going to put on there, and add Kershaw and probably Kike and Roki. But yeah, that's probably about it.
That's about it.
However, I was surprised by the Kirby Yates signing. I thought they were done after Tanner Scott, so we'll see.
I was caught off guard with that because I just wanted, Kirby, if they weren't going to just dive into the Tanner Scott thing. And they said, Scott, why not both? Why not both, buddy?
There's still Jack Flaherty just sitting out there like begging for teams to sign him. Like, if you get him on a 1-year deal, sure.
Have you actually, Blake? I know you're a busy man. Have you actually looked at the number of free agents that are still out there?
There's a lot. There's like a playoff team out there.
There's a lot. Bob, for the camaraderie, yes, I do. I do miss that at Dodger Stadium, going in there elbow and elbow. Absolutely, buddy. Yeah, but there's a lot of free agents. There's a lot of free agents out there. I'm very surprised at the caliber of it. What are Blake Williams' reasons for that?
Owners are cheap and don't want to spend money, and probably a lot of them just feel like giving up because the Dodgers are the Dodgers. Are they
just kicking the can? Are they just, wallowing in their own sorrows? Are they that down bad of what some of these other teams have been able to do? I don't think they're, like colluding with each other saying we're all not signing anyone, because the Blue Jays just signed Max Scherzer. Are they just, they're comfortable with what they've got?
I think a lot of owners are just seeing that the expanded playoffs have made it fairly easy to get into the postseason. You don't have to spend a ton of money and go out there and put the best team together. If you just sneak into the playoffs and be competitive at the trade deadline, make a trade, like you can get in the postseason cheaper. And I think a lot of them are just trying to do that and they don't want to go out and spend money. Like that's what it comes down to. I think Anthony and Jeff have been talking about this, like the market inefficiency in baseball right now, where the Dodgers always trying to exploit what other teams aren't doing, and that's spending money. So they're going out and getting good players because other teams don't want to spend money. And then the other teams are crying about how the Dodgers are spending too much money. And it's like, well, if you went out and signed some of these players and weren't just sitting there with a $70 million to $150 million payroll, you would have good players. The Dodgers wouldn't be signing every good player available, and you would have a competitive roster. But instead, they just want to sneak by and try and get by with what they have, not spend money, pocket the money that they're getting for themselves. Their fans are still going to show up. Like fans are going to go to games. They're not going to protest unless they're like the A's fans where they're getting the team taken away from them. So
Yeah.
owners just realize like we don't have to spend money. We're going to have a chance to make the playoffs, and that's all that really matters to us.
Shout out to the 1500 across all social media. We appreciate you joining us on a Thursday night. Yeah, I agree with you, buddy. I mean, I know GI talked about, he says, honestly, the big free agents out there are guys whose markets were going to collapse due to age, health concerns, etc. I still think there's, guys out here that are worthy of contracts, like sizable things. Like we were talking about, I know Pete Alonso's thing. He's had some, oddball stuff there. He's probably hoping for a reunion in New York, and it's just not happening with the Mets. Like they're playing hardball on both sides. But we all thought Jack Flaherty was going to be a guy to get a pretty solid contract, 4 or 5 years. Like and now he's just sitting out there, and we're going into like February here pretty soon. So there's a number of names that it's getting perplexing here.
Yeah, I think the thing with the concerns about the free agents due to health and age and all that, like that's every free agent ever. Like there's never been a perfect free agent necessarily. Even with Ohtani, he was coming off second elbow surgery. Like every free agent has somewhat of a concern because every contract is a risk, but you sign that player betting on them and knowing like we know there's risk involved, but he can help us get to the playoffs. He can help us win a championship. And there's a lot of players out there who can help teams get to the playoffs and be quality players for them.
Yeah, I agree. Definitely. One more here, but I wanted to slide this in here. He says, so glad we got news on a Thursday show. You guys are the best. Yeah, we appreciate you. Zarella, thank you so much. Yeah, we appreciate you tuning in. Blake and I do our best to come on here, cook for an hour and a half, and just hang out with you guys. Yeah, so we appreciate you a lot. Last one, Blake, send us home, man.
There's 2 more because this one's really quick, and then there's is there a chance that Conforto gets Manuel Margot treatment during spring training? No. They paid him $17 million a year, I think. Like he wasn't just a throw-in of the trade. I think Conforto's a guy they like. We've noted that there's upside in his bat and reason for optimism there, so he's going to be starting in left field for the team. And the other one, are we worried about Freddie Freeman's production?
I don't know. I do not. No. I think that Freddie Freeman is on a contract and on a run right now that is among the most bargain contracts that we've seen in some time. I know there's guys like Ohtani and stuff like Ronald Acuna, but for the bargain that the Dodgers were getting with Freddie Freeman, the production that he's had, I know his power numbers took a dip, but for everything else he's providing, I'm not worried about him finding a way to produce. Maybe you're not going to see it as far as like just so much power because you're not going to see him have as many home runs, doubles, whatever it is. I think he's still going to find a way to impact the game. Scooter Booter, like what I think with Freddie Freeman is he's such a professional hitter. Laura says, yeah, Freddie's the man. I think Freddie will continue to find a way to impact the game, getting on base, walking, his knowledge of the strike zone. I'm not worried about it. I still would slot Freddie Freeman in. If it was like you had to put Freddie Freeman in the 3-hole, and just let it set it and forget it, I wouldn't have any problem.
Yeah, I think there's some like decline in his game. I don't think he's the MVP player he was in 2020 type production or even the next 2 years after that. He's getting up there in age, so like a decline is going to happen, but he's still a really good hitter. And I think we also have to consider last year a lot happened to him. He broke his finger. He's badly sprained his ankle. His son was in the hospital for quite some time. So like there's a lot that was affecting him. And I think that brought down his stats pretty good amount. So I would expect somewhat of a bounce back. I don't think he's going to be like MVP type top 3 hitter in the league, but probably top 15 or something around there, and still a really good player.
Yeah. All right, chat. We appreciate you. Thanks for tuning in tonight on Thursday. Long stream. Awesome support, chat. You guys were great. You were firing on all cylinders here. I hope you prepared for this. Blake, last thought. Send us home, man.
Yeah. Go watch all our videos from the charity events we've been covering, and FanFest coming up. Watch those videos after. Yeah, just keep staying tuned with the channel.
Chat, thank you so much. My name is Scott Geirman. This is Blake Williams, one of the hardest working people that I know. Thanks for all the support. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Keep tabs. As always, I'm going to say it just for Eden. Still champs. Dodgers World Series 2024 World Series champs. We'll talk to you soon. As always, guys, go Dodgers.